Words matter. They define who we are. The most memorable ones are etched in marble. But with rules in English as rigid as a marshmallow, anyone is free to invent a new word. Just look at politicians. They make it up as they go along. Words, I mean.
I will put Medicare and Social Security in a lockbox.
Helping states and local governments with shovel-ready projects.
Some experiment with language so much, they invent non-words.
I think they misestimated the will and determination of the commander-in-chief, too.
Popular culture is, on the whole, more picky, but equally inventive.
The hell can a slumdog possibly know?
English is stretched like an elastic from Mumbai to Mombasa to Memphis, and the Global Language Monitor keeps track of every word used in our precious language. The rankings are based on how often a particular word is used and how widely the word has spread around the world. And from the crop of new words it includes noob, a novice at computer games, sexting, sending naughty electronic messages, and octomum, you know who I mean, emerges the grand victor. We bring you tonight the 1 millionth word of the language of Shakespeare and Twain, and it is Web 2.0. Paul, thanks for joining us. So we have the millionth word, Web 2.0, except it's not a word, it's a word and a number. First of all, what does it mean, and what's going on here?
Well, actually, there's an interesting phenomenon in English right now where letters and numbers are interchanging to make words. I mean, noob, which comes down the list, okay, is N00B. So it's another mixture of numbers and letters. And, you know, we used to be constricted with, 24 letters or whatever. But now it's like we have numerals, letters, diacritical marks, punctuation, all sorts of things in the exposition of the language right now. Web 2.0, it's actually an interesting choice. We didn't make the choice. We just reflect what's out there in the language right now. Web 2.0 is basically the next generation of the web. All the cool things that will happen, all the cool bells and whistles. And it was very, very strong. We were surprised how strong it was. We run an index on it, and it's an algorithm, but we get an index number. An index number was 50% higher than the number 2 word.
That's extraordinary. So are geeks killing the English language?
Geeks are, it's like, I have a book in A Million Words and Counting, and I have 5 or 6 scenarios in the future what happens to the language. One of them is that the geeks take over, and nobody can understand anything because there's an infinite number of words with all these endless possibilities of numerals and letters and diacritical marks and, you know, smileys and emoticons all mixed in, but only the geeks understand it. So that's kind of like we have noob and we have Web 2.0, and these are words that have been around for a while, but they're passing into general currency in English language now.
Now, if this was France and we had the Académie Française, the custodian of the French language, they would never allow a word like Web 2.0 to creep into their language. I don't think the Germans would either, quite frankly. So, you know, is this one of the great strengths or one of the great weaknesses of the English language, that we are such a welcoming, open church?
Right. It's a very democratic language. It comes from the people up. Recent studies show that people in the Scandinavian countries, for example, or in China, they study English not to sound like the Queen, not to sound like President Obama, but they study English to talk to each other, because it's the great communal language right now. So someone in Shanghai, if they want to talk to somebody in the western precincts of China, where there's a totally different dialect, it's just easier to default to English. And that's what's happened globally. And another thing is that we don't have an academy that restricts words. And that's why French has something like 100,000 words. And English has 1 million. And the argument, the academic argument, is it 1 million or is it 5 million? I mean, English just is such a giant language from a vocabulary perspective, because it accepts any and all. Right. And it doesn't translate things. It just says, oh, here's a word, pajamas. That's from the Hindi. Let's just use that for now.
So, Paul, yet again, we beat the French at something. Okay, my final question to you is this. You can, of all those 1 million words, you can take one that you are particularly in love with to your desert island, just one word. Which one is it going to be?
Stuff. Stuff, S-T-U-F-F. It's a very plain, banal word, but it means so many different things. The universe is made of stuff. I have stuff in my pocket. When I go to work, I do stuff. There's all sorts of things you can do with stuff. I just have a lot of fun with the word stuff.
Even on a desert island. Paul, thank you very much for joining us. Good stuff.
Well, I have certain types of stuff. Bye-bye. Thank you.